Hi, hello, welcome. I'm streaming now. Hi. Yep. So welcome to, I'll just give it a minute, let people, I've just put the link on Facebook to advertise that I'm streaming now. So just give it a minute. I've also put the link for the Zoom in the chat box, so you can click on that and join the Zoom. I'm getting another pillow. I'm a little bit, my hips are a little bit achy. So yeah, okay. I shall start the introduction then. See the title. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The title is Freedom is Here, You Are Not. Oh. Mm. I think that's kind of the crux of it's the crux of non-duality, really. This celebration of this freedom that is here. This emptiness that is here. This empty fullness that is here. Is this expression of that, is pointing to that. So this idea of a person, this idea of you, which begins to feel very normal, very natural, very, of course, very like, this is the way it is, unquestioned. This person, this narrative of someone is what seems to cover up this freedom. So this narrative will say, well, where is this freedom? I can't find this freedom. I want this freedom. All these stories are around it. But the freedom is here. The freedom is this story, this narrative of someone is the only thing that seems to be covering this up, this freedom up. This idea that you exist as someone, you exist as a person. This identity, this narrative of being someone seems to cover up this already freedom, this already isness, this freedom that already is. And so the person can ask about this and ask and question about this. But it's not really in the domain of that person. It's not something the person's going to uncover and discover and be able to find and know and have. What's being spoken about as freedom, as what is already, isn't a person, so it already is that. But this person seems to come up, this mind position of someone seems to come up and think it's real and it is someone, it is on a journey towards freedom. And this is the fundamental illusion that is spoken about, I suppose, in these kinds of teachings, pointings, descriptions, that position of someone isn't the truth. It isn't reality. That is a human language-based narrative. So we have that as humans, this narrative, thoughts, basically. We have thinking. And so as part of that thinking, this narrative of someone started. And that isn't really a problem, actually. It's more that that's been taken to be, it's become like an embodied, real, true position. So rather than it just being a thought, oh, someone is sitting here, or someone is doing this or doing that. Someone is whatever age they are, living in whatever place they're living, rather than that just being a narrative in our human world to describe and fill in forms and communicate. It's become this like embodied reality truth, whereas so the humans living through that narrative as if it's true. And this is the like the only kind of thing that's being really spoken about, is this misidentification that seems to happen in humans, where they begin to believe they are someone moving through time. They are this storyline, this narrative moving through time, having experiences, growing, learning, whatever. It's going through stuff. So in the script, you could say this happened and this learning has happened and this experience has happened. In the narration of an experience, we can describe it in human language. But what happens, and the suffering of humans, is believing, energetically believing, living as if that narrative, that information exchange is actually true. So that's like that narrative, these thoughts take on their own life in a way and become this whole play, this whole story being lived out. And I suppose what's being spoken about is this breaking of that, this breaking out of that. So there isn't that embodiment in that story. And so there's this waking up of who you are beyond that story, what is beyond that story in time. And what's beyond that story in time is this. we call it this moment, or what is actually happening. This is beyond the story in time, the story of you moving through time. This isn't a story moving through time. I mean, if you describe it, you could say it is, but the actual experience is what seems to be happening. But the only suffering is this identification with this position of someone, and that being true, and therefore that being the experience, the seeming experience. Someone is sitting here, someone is listening, someone is thinking, understanding, hearing. And so this freedom then isn't something in that narration of someone. This freedom is here. This freedom is. It just is. It's not in our conceptual functioning of thinking. It just is. It just is. And so the mind can maybe try to think about that and have ideas and thoughts around that. But that's never going to be it. That's going to be a thought. It's going to be an appearance, a thought, an idea. And so this is then is a radical pointing back to what is, simply what is, nothing special or extraordinary, just what is, just life happening, just life happening. The person, however, the mind, however, the narrative of someone, however, wants some kind of meat, some kind of story, some kind of ultimate thing, some kind of higher power, some kind of big ending to its story, some big thing in its story. It's all about its story. It can only live in its story, whether it be good or bad. It can only live in its story. That's its makeup. It's housed in that. Concepts, thoughts, language is housed within that. And so what isn't housed within thoughts, ideas, concepts? And you can't even think about it. If you think about it, it becomes another thought, idea, concept. So it's primary. It's like it's fundamental. It's before all of that. It's just here. So thoughts and concepts and language arise, they appear, but it doesn't touch upon what doesn't touch upon this fundamental, primary, empty aliveness, empty beingness, empty fullness. Can't touch upon it. And this is freedom, this recognition of that. This recognition of that being the primary, being the fundamental. And then thought, concepts, ideas appear, action happens. But it's not relevant. It's not like it doesn't touch upon the fundamental, the primary, which isn't in form, it isn't in limitation. On the other hand, it's all parent form, but it's, as humans, we're transfixed, hypnotized by form, by concepts, by thought. And so what's being pointed to is outside of that limitation of appearance of form, outside of our ideas, outside of our labels, our understanding, our conceptual knowledge. In the words of Rumi, I believe, outside of right and wrong. Good and bad, this and that, him and her. And the mind can't grasp that. The mind is in duality. It's in good and bad, right and wrong, black and white, male and female. It's in that. Whoop. Okay, that was weird. Yeah. So freedom is here. And that can maybe feel uncomfortable, also wonderful and joyous, but also there may be uncomfortability in hearing that. In terms of mental uncomfortability, maybe bodily uncomfortability also, but uncomfortability or resistance to that, or dread, feeling. At the end of you, the end of your journey towards something. The end of that momentum. But maybe there's relief as well. There can be relief in that. So you're welcome to ask any questions about non-duality. You can join the Zoom through the link, or you can use the chat box. I prefer you to join the Zoom and speak, or but if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can use the chat box. Angel Sunshine. Hi, Angel. Do you ever worry or hesitate to freely express yourself? I love your expression, by the way. Do you ever worry or hesitate to freely express yourself? Do you mean like during the streams or just in general? Do I ever worry or hesitate to freely express myself? Don't think I worry about it. Do I hesitate to freely express myself? Hesitate. I don't know if it fits that word, but I mentioned it on a video recently. I don't necessarily hesitate to, but I do have fear and I do panic around expressing myself. I do panic about or have fear about being slow. Like I I do have difficulty with understanding what people mean by what they say. And it takes me a while to process and to ask questions to clarify what they mean, first of all, before I can then obviously then answer. So it takes a lot of time for me to do that. It would take time. And so rather than taking my time, being honest about that, I can often try to give a response that isn't necessarily a genuine time thought one. Like I'm not giving myself time to understand what they're asking to give a genuine then response. So I do have that tendency to feel pressured to respond instantly. But I mean, do I hesitate? I'm not sure. I just have that. In general, I notice constantly I'm kind of putting brakes on myself. If I express freely, then I would curse a lot, okay? But since we live in a society, I have to behave. Okay, yeah. I mean, I tend to, I'm a little bit, I do say things a bit, I don't swear a lot or anything. I'm not a big swearer, but I do tend to say things that maybe isn't appropriate. Not for me, it's not, but it's not appropriate to society. Like I ask things that are quite personal quite early on. I'm quite open, maybe too open in some ways. So I have that issue where I do say things, blurt things out that aren't necessarily appropriate for who I'm talking to or where I am or that kind of thing. But I just feel a lot freer in that as well. Like I feel freer in that, in the sense that I'm being more genuine in just being myself in that regard. But in society you do have to be mindful, I suppose, of who you're speaking to, where you are, how well you know the person, vice versa. So maybe if you're natural, if you swear a lot in your language, then you'd have to, I guess, hold that back and not be so free to express that if you're in a certain situation or certain people, kids around or whatever, maybe at work or so you feel you're holding back from that. Just part of how society is. You have to go to work in maybe smart clothes, you have to speak a certain way, you have to follow certain rules, I suppose, in society. But ideally you'd find people, friends who you are able to be more yourself and not have to do that. Yeah. But yeah, good luck to you. Maybe you can find some friends who you can say, this is how I am, I swear a lot, and they're like, oh, okay, cool, sort of thing. So yeah, I'm sure you're not alone. I think a lot of trauma does come from living in society, like other people. You have to, there are certain rules, unwritten rules, written rules where you have to abide by, and that may cause a lot of conflict with other people, a lot of war and trouble through us trying to live together and cooperate and yeah. Yeah. Mm. But that will still be the way it is, like with non-duality, that will still be the way it is. You still have to, there's still this human interaction that happens, this human uh cooperation or relationships that happen in the human world. You have to talk to your bank manager or talk to your parents or talk to your neighbor and have to deal with these things and still present yourself um accordingly to what situation you're in. So non-duality is not about necessarily sorting, making that easier or sorting it out. It can become easier. And I feel like as as this as this what to call it, as this sinks in, as this like penetrates through, like there will be a change in the way the human is, possibly making things easier on one level, because you're not coming from that, you're not living in that person, so you're not living in it, stewing in it, you're not coming from that, so it's going to impact your experience of conflict, for example. But there's still going to be drama and human stuff happening. You can't get out of being a human, the human experience, and that's not even needed to get out of it. Like, it's not, that wasn't ever the issue, really. The issue is when there's that belief, the idea, that belief that the human experience will fulfill you, the human experience is going to become perfect, and then you will find love, then you will find home. And that simply isn't true. That simply isn't true. What do you think about AI? We have a lot of job insecurity. Recently, a lot of my colleagues got fired. They say AI won't take your job. A person knowing AI will. So I'm getting into AI lately. Oh no, what do I think about AI? It's not something that I really think about AI. I don't know much about artificial intelligence. Obviously it's part of our experience, part of the it's very fascinating. Yeah, you can see how God created programming, this world reality. Yeah, you can see how it's all put together, how creation is created. Yeah, I don't know. That'd be really interesting. Actually, yeah, I like coding in a way. It's interesting. I've gone to it in depth, but I know a bit about coding. But yeah, it is interesting. But I don't think much about it in terms of anything really. Um, but yeah, you see programming, how it's programmed in, the conditions and the creation of things to operate and move and bugs in the system. And yeah, you can transpose it, I suppose. But yeah, I don't really think about it, to be honest. I don't think about AI. Yeah, yeah. Um, but I suppose, just thought then, like, I suppose, like, it might create a lot of fear in people, enhance fear, or reveal that fear that's already there, but enhance it because of the AI taking over the jobs, then it's going to create fear. So rather than being foreigners taking over the jobs, it will be AI taking over the jobs. That creates a lot of fear and a lot of panic. How will I survive? Basically, coding. There's this heart symbol in the way of the I can't see all the words. Basically, coding is the art of breaking things down. Please attempt to say some words. Break down non-duality. Uh, please attempt to say some words. Break down non-duality. Can't really break it down, like break down non-duality. Non-duality, it is it's empty fullness, it's what is. I can't. Like it's not in words. I wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't be able to, I'd fail. I'm failing. Like you can't. It would be a stream of silence It will be a talk of silence, like I can't. It is already. It's this freedom, it's what's happening. It's what's planting, what's glass singing, what's moving, what's speaking. It's everything. It's everything, but it can't be found as a thing. You can't grasp it as a thing. So the mind, humans create all these ideas and concepts around it, around what it is, what things are, what they're made of. They're trying to find the answer to it in concepts, in form, but it's impossible to. And so we have religions trying to, and philosophy trying to get the answer to what is it, what created this, what is this made of? And we have more words, more ideas about it from our human perspective. It's a God, it's a thing, we always try to make it into words, into a thing, but we can't. And that's the beauty and the freedom of it. It's wordless, it's thingless, it's formless, ungraspable, unconceptual, unconceptualized, unconceptual bubble. You can't. But the mind's not even it's not able to, but it's not meant to, it's not able to do that, it's not for that, it's for the mind's like, it's thoughts, it's abstract, it's planning, it's creating, it's labeling, and it's doing its thing, but it can't know that which isn't in its domain. It can't know beyond itself. Nothing can. It's so beautiful. The drop, let's say, drop into that, or drop out of mind. And you can't do that. You are mind. But it's pointing to that which already is out of mind, out of thought. Ba, ba, ba. And the thoughts try and grab it, and it can't. It's impossible. Impossible. Even in coding, I don't really know much about coding enough, but like the zeros and one thing, like zero is meant to represent nothing, I'm assuming, but zero, I mean, math, zero is meant to be nothing, zero, nothing, not a thing, but zero is it's representative of that, but it's still seen as a thing, because we can't help but see something, even nothing, as a thing, but it's not it. It's just to represent that which can't be represented, doesn't exist. So it's really like mind tripping. It's mind boggling, mind tripping. Until it's always going to be mind tripping, but until there's this yeah, just this switch to that which is that. It just is that. So the mind can be tripped out by it, but something already is that. So it's not like it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. So beautiful. What already is nothing, what already is free, what already is ungraspable, ungettable, unknowable. And yet it's the fundamental, the primary. To everything. Yeah. Thank you, Angel. This was perfect. Yeah, thank you. Any more questions? There's time for maybe one more. Feel free to still join the Zoom, or you can ask on chat. Mhm. Oh, it's so lovely to um speak about. Yeah, non-duality. Um, yes, so I'll be back next Wednesday, and yeah, lots of love, lots of love.